Hello everyone, my name is Gayathri and I'm a second year biotech major at UC Davis. Today's video is going to be about the UC application. You can think of it as a mix between me sharing my stats when I applied to the UCs, as well as giving general advice to any high school seniors. The way this video will be set up is I've pulled up my UC app right here. I'm just going to read the important parts of my application rather than explicitly showing the whole app on screen. Followed with each section, I'm going to give any general advice as far as how you can improve the writing of the application, what content to focus on in each section, as well as what college admissions officers will be considering, what they will be prioritizing when reviewing the app. Now, a couple disclaimers. Number one, as I said, I'm a second year in college right now, meaning I submitted my UC app 2 years ago. I have no idea how the application has changed. I don't know if they have any new requirements, if they removed old requirements. So while this video may not 100% align with the current app, I do believe any advice I give will be relevant for any college admissions application you do. The second disclaimer is, usually with these videos, it's so important to reiterate. Us college students don't really know what helped us get into certain schools. We don't know what about our application college admissions officers read and thought, okay, this person would be a great fit. The thing is, every year the UCs will probably have a different vision of what students they want to accept to their school. So while I will be sharing my stats today, you should not assume that this is the GPA you need, or if you have this GPA, you're not going to get into this school. At the end of the day, we have no idea what helped us get into certain schools. We don't know how the inner workings of college admissions process work. Therefore, I suggest in this video you give more weight to the advice I give rather than the stats I show. With that all in mind, let's get started. So the first part of the application is about you. This is the personal information section. It's pretty self-explanatory, it asks about where you live, who your parents are, what your name is. In my application, I'd say what is relevant is I went to a high school in the Midwest, so I was applying as an out-of-state student. When it comes to location, I will say it can play a small factor in your admissions. Usually, if you go to a school or if you're from an area where not a lot of people apply to the UCs, that can give you a slight advantage. You have to understand, colleges, their goal is to expand. Their goal is to get their name out there and have people apply to their school. By the UC accepting you, it gives them a greater chance of their name being known in that particular high school. However, very important to keep in mind, location of where you went to high school is not a make it or break it factor in the admissions process. It can play a slight role, but not a major one. The next section of the application is campuses and majors, so buckle in, I'm going to be rambling a lot here. UC app is set up such that you just have to check a box for what schools you're interested in, and this one application will be sent to multiple of them at once. So out of the 9 undergraduate UCs, I applied to 6 of them. I applied to all of them except Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Merced. So if those were schools you were particularly keen on, I apologize. And when you're selecting the school that you're interested in, they will also ask you to pick a first choice major and an alternate major. So I'm going to list down what I have here. For Berkeley, I applied as a bioengineering major, and they did not offer an alternate major option. At UC Davis, I applied as a biotech major and then a genetics and genomics major. At UC Irvine, I applied for pharmaceutical sciences as my first choice, and then biomedical engineering. At UCLA, my first choice was MIMG, which I will list down the acronym here, and then my second choice was physiological science. UC San Diego, I applied for biology with specialization in bioinformatics, and then bioengineering biotech as my second option. And then finally, at UC Santa Cruz, I applied for biomolecular engineering and bioinformatics as my first major, and then molecular cell and developmental bio as the second major. UC San Diego is unique where you can also rank what college within the university you want to be accepted into. So at San Diego, my first choice was John Muir, then Earl Warren, Thurgood Marshall, 6th, 7th, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Revelle College. Here's the thing, guys. Your major can definitely have an impact on your admissions chances because there are certain majors that are just more competitive than others. Time and time again, engineering has always been one of the most competitive majors to get into. Engineering, computer science, Biology is also a very popular major among high school seniors who are applying. Psychology is also very popular. And the less competitive majors tend to be, from what I've seen, foreign language, gender studies, different cultural studies. These are just examples, but what I'm trying to say here is definitely the major that you are interested in can play a role in your admissions chances. Hi guys, this is voiceover Gayathri. So as I was making this video, I was not aware of this, but it turns out that majority of the UC schools admit their students by college rather than by major. So what that means is an English major and a foreign language major have the same chances of getting into a school because they both belong in the College of Letters and Science. In the next part of the video, I'll be talking about UC Berkeley and UCLA specifically, but keep in mind that a majority of the UC schools have this similar admissions process. However, there are certain majors where there's a restricted number of seats, and this depends on the university and it depends on the major. So please make sure to do your own research. I will say though, for UCLA, UC Berkeley, and I believe UC San Diego, they admit you by college rather than by major. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're applying as a biology major to UCLA. You are going to be competing with a history major for the same spot because both bio and history majors fall under the College of Letters and Science. And this is the case because UCLA and UC Berkeley, they want you to fulfill certain prerequisites before you're actually accepted into that major. And even when I share my results at the end of the video, as far as what colleges I got into, you will see a correlation with the majors that I selected for and then what schools I actually got accepted into. Now, even though I'm saying that majors can play a role in your admissions, you should always stick to your passion. If you're interested in engineering, stick to engineering. Don't feel like you have to switch to like some other major just to get into a school. With that out of the way, we are now moving on to academic history, probably the most feared part for any high school seniors who are applying. So, at the UCs, they are asking you to list down all the courses you took as well as grades from 7th all the way to 12th grade. The reason why they ask for 7th and 8th grade is because some schools have the option of taking a high school math class or a high school English class when you were in middle school. So they will ask for all the courses and all the grades you took. This also includes college courses like dual enrollment. In my application, I'm not going to go over every class I took, but I took around 10 honors classes, 3 AP classes, and 5 semesters of dual enrollment. When I was submitting my grades, I had all straight A's except a B in AP Physics. If we're going to be honest, I'm just glad I passed. Now, it's important to keep in mind when you're submitting your application, admissions officers will not see your grades for 12th grade, right? Because you're still currently taking the classes. Make sure that when you're submitting your grades, you keep track of the certain subject area requirements, because at the UCs, if I'm correct, they do ask for at least one semester of an art class, which takes some people off guard. Here's the thing. There are 2 criteria that all UC admissions officers look for. Number 1 is how difficult of a course load did you take? And number 2, how good were your grades? Basically, how many A's did you get? Did you get the best grades possible? The UCs, they take a look at the high school you went to, how many honors, AP, dual enrollment classes were offered to you, and then how many of those classes did you take advantage of? When you're submitting your application, your 10th and 11th grade grades are going to be prioritized. Your 9th grade grades, okay, what I'm saying is if you slipped with a C or a B, it's not as big of a deal, as long as you make up for it in 10th and 11th grade, where you ramp up the difficulty of your courses and you get the best letter grades possible. They want to see an upward trend in case you didn't do well in 9th grade. Now, even though in 12th grade you won't have any letter grades to submit to the admissions, do not underestimate the importance of this section, because the UCs want to make sure you are not slacking off your senior year. They still ask you to submit your 12th grade course curriculum because they want to see, are you still taking same number of APs, same number of honors, or are you taking it really easy this time? They want to make sure that you are keeping up the rigor that you have kept up for the past 2-3 years. In general, you need to try and get as many A's as possible. I'm sorry if it sounds very, blunt and out there, but it is true. You do want to try and get as many A's as possible. If you get a C or a B here and there, usually it's not a big deal. But I'm gonna be honest, for UCLA and UC Berkeley, you will be competing with people who took tons and tons of AP, college, honors classes, and who aced all of them. So if those are the two schools that you're interested in, you definitely want to aim for that. Now here's the thing, the UC system claims that they do a holistic application review, which is true. What that means is they view your grades, extracurriculars, and essays as equal importance. Grades do not completely overrule extracurriculars and essays. However, do not underestimate the impact of a bad grade. It is very difficult to cover up a bad grade, even with extracurriculars and a stellar essay. In the case of my transcript, my biggest disadvantage is I only took 3 AP classes when my school offered 9+. Because I was an out-of-state student, my dual enrollment courses and my honors courses did not count. They were not given extra weight as they would have for other California students. Now here's the thing, if you have a bad grade, and if you have a valid reason as to why that grade was there, they have an additional information section at the end of the academic history portion. This is the place where you can explain why you may have gotten a less than satisfactory grade in a class. And to be honest, the UC admissions officers want to see you writing in there. If you got a C in a class or a D if they allow you to report it, then they want you to explain why that could have been the case. Especially if you had personal issues affecting with your academic career, this is very important to mention. Now, with grades out of the way, we are going to move on to test scores. So this is the portion that I believe is being altered over the years. If I am correct, the UCs are not going to consider ACT and SAT scores down the line. So I'm going to skip past that and we're going to go to AP exams. What I have learned is if you are taking an AP class in high school, they definitely want to see you take the initiative to do the actual exam. However, you do not need to do the reverse, where if you don't take the AP class, you still take the exam. That's kind of what I did. So even though I took 3 AP classes, I took 5 AP exams and I self-studied for 2 of them. To be very frank, that was not necessary. The AP exam portion here, this is not going to be given as much weight as the actual grades. So don't think that by taking a bunch of AP exams, that's going to give you a great boost in your application. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to help you as much as you think. My advice would be just stick to taking AP exams for the AP classes you're taking and aim for 3, 4s, and 5s, because getting a 3, 4, or 5 will allow you to earn college credit if you actually attend one of the UCs. They'll also be asking for international exams if you're an international student, such as TOEFL. Unfortunately, I don't have the knowledge to discuss that further. From there, we're going to move on to activities and awards. So in this section, you can write up to 20 items on any activities or awards you have earned throughout your high school career. You will be expected to provide descriptions for each item you write down. In my case, I did a mix of music, extracurriculars, and volunteering. However, a majority of my application was related to music. So I was part of choir all 4 years of high school. I was part of band, including marching band, 3 years of high school. Within choir, I got various solo awards. I was part of jazz choirs. I was part of some honor choirs. A similar thing to band with the addition of being a marching band leader. The reason why I'm saying this is in the extracurricular section, every college looks for quality over quantity. What that means is they don't care about the number of extracurriculars you've joined, they care about how much time you committed to one of them. If you have been part of an extracurricular for multiple years, you definitely want to highlight that in your application. Now, within the UCs, I truly feel that each university is looking for something different. I'll be honest, some of the UCs just want to make sure that you had a life outside of academics. But then there are other UCs, I would say specifically UCLA and UC Berkeley, that want to see you take initiative in serving your population, in serving your city. They like to see a lot of leadership. In fact, I'd say for any college admissions, leadership positions are one of the best items to write down. So if you were part of leadership, if you were part of any extracurricular for multiple years, definitely make sure to really highlight that in this section. Just understand that extracurriculars are there to let admissions know that, right, you have other skills besides being academic, that you are a well-rounded person. Here are some advice on how to improve your extracurricular section. I like to call this the Food Network effect. So you know how when in any Food Network show the chefs are making a meal and when they serve it to the judges they have to give this description? Most of the time the description is very eloquent and graceful and it sounds very fancy, right? If a chef were to give a PB&J to the judges, they're not going to say like, oh, here's a PB&J. They'll probably describe it as, oh, you know, this is a strawberry puree lathered on top of a crisp wheat toast, complemented with a creamy peanut paste, right? Like just something that's so fancy and so eloquent for something simple. This is kind of what you have to do with the extracurricular section. Let's say you worked at a food bank and you were stacking cans. Instead of writing in the description, I stacked cans at this food bank, you really want to sell yourself here. You want to be like, I aided this underserved population by providing non-perishable meal items. I organized the pantry, I greeted customers, I assorted meals. But in this extracurricular section, you really want to build yourself up. The reason why I'm saying this is because the entire UC application is self-written. When the college admissions officers are reviewing your app, they're judging you based on what you gave them to look at. So in this extracurricular section, you really need to make yourself sound awesome. So for every extracurricular you have, make sure you make yourself sound fancy and what you did was really like impactful, very eloquent. Try and use the best wording possible in this section. All right, and now we go on to the personal insight questions. So this is where your application is brought to life. This is where a piece of paper has human qualities. If I'm correct, the PIQs, you're given 7 prompts and you have to pick 4 of the 7 prompts to write about. I'm not gonna read every essay I wrote because we're gonna be sitting here for hours. But in this section, with every essay you write, you need to show character development. Why? Because that is a human quality, is making mistakes and growing from them. And it is so important that in every essay you write in this section, you talk about what lessons have you learned? What mindset did you walk into the situation with? And what mindset did you have when you left, right? You need to show growth with every essay you write. So I'll give one example. In the prompt, what is your greatest skill? I mentioned in my extracurricular section that I was in choir, right? I was in choir for 4 years, but in this essay, I talked about how I struggled with my voice, I struggled with singing in front of people, and with enough practice, with enough finding extra resources, I was able to build the confidence and found success in the end. So that's kind of what they're looking for. You can definitely take portions from your extracurricular like activities and awards section and then write essays about it. It's just important that you bring up information that has not been listed before. So talking about your emotions, talking about, you know, what you felt you could do or you couldn't do and what you learned in the end, that all must be written in this essay section. Hey guys, this is voiceover Gayathri again. I just remembered this while editing, but for the PIQs, you want to make sure that your writing style is a bit more straightforward than normal. Usually for college application essays, they recommend that your essays are a bit more narrative, has a lot of good storytelling elements like symbolism and a bunch of metaphors. But for the UC app, they want you to keep it as straightforward as possible, but make sure that it still has a good flow. Hopefully that makes sense. Here's the thing. This is where admissions officers can connect to you from a human-to-human level. At the end of the day, to these admissions officers, you need to seem likable, relatable, and most importantly, mature enough to enter their university. And nothing shows maturity more than growth and character development. All right, now for probably the most anticipated part of the video, the final results, right? Which schools did I get into? So I got accepted to UC Irvine, UC Davis, and UC Santa Cruz, all for my first choice major. I got waitlisted at San Diego and UCLA, and clearly because I was overqualified, Berkeley thought I would do better elsewhere, so I did not get into Berkeley. As this video is being posted, class of 2023 already submitted their UC app. I want to make it very clear, for anyone watching this video, anyone who's about to wait for college decisions, It's so important you understand that the school you get into does not define your success. The reputation of a college says nothing about what you can achieve in life. What determines that is the resources that you utilize from whatever college you end up going to. In my case, even before I got my admissions decision to Berkeley, I signed my SIR to UC Davis. I'll make a video about this in the future, but the main reason why I chose UC Davis was for the major of biotechnology, not for the prestige. With any college admissions decision you get, it's important to understand that your reputation, or I should say the reputation of the school, does not reflect the reputation of you. Honestly, guys, this is gonna sound sad, but these college institutions don't care about you, okay? When they're reviewing your application, they're going to take a maximum of 8 to 10 minutes to read it and decide whether you should attend their university or not. Life is far too long for you to be moping about, I didn't get here, I got into this school, right? At the end of the day, you determine your success. Most importantly, please be proud of everything you accomplished in high school. No matter what school you end up getting into, no matter what school you end up attending, you must be proud of what you accomplished. High school is not easy. It is very, very stressful, and you need to be proud of making it to the end. And with that, you have made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the Her Campus at UCD channel. Follow our Instagram down below. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Bye!